Everyone thought she was just another recruit, until the general raised his hand and the entire field fell silent. The dust over Fort Rayburn shimmered in the bright midday sun, turning the drill grounds into a blinding canvas of heat and discipline. And right in the center of that open field, where 100 soldiers stood in formation, General Marcus Hale stepped toward a young woman named Liora Beckett, a woman nobody paid much attention to until that moment. Within seconds, the confrontation exploded. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. General Hale's voice cracked like a whip. He had a reputation, strict, unyielding, easily provoked by anything that smelled like disobedience. But today wasn't about disobedience. It was about ego. Liora had corrected a stance he demonstrated incorrectly, a quiet, factual correction spoken with respect. But pride, especially under the sun and in front of an audience, can turn sharp. When the general moved toward her, shoulders squared, jaw set, the air tightened. Dust swirled at their feet. A murmur rippled through the ranks, like a warning carried on the wind. Liora's heart knocked against her ribs. Stay calm. Don't escalate. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of losing control. General Hale stepped closer. Too close. You think you know better than me, Private? He hissed. She didn't answer. Silence in some moments is a shield. But he took it as defiance. His hand rose. A gasp shot through the soldiers. Even the birds seemed to pause above the burning training field. Liora didn't want to react. She didn't want to hurt him. But instinct, old buried instinct, moved faster than thought. Before his hand could fall, her grip locked around his wrist. Swift, precise, almost gentle. For a single breath, everything froze. Then the sound came, a crack sharp enough to slice the heavy heat. General Hale dropped to his knees, clutching an arm that now hung at a wrong angle. 100 soldiers exhaled in unison. Nobody moved. Nobody blinked. And Liora, she stepped backward, horrified by what she'd done. She thought she'd never see him again. She was wrong. A wave of officers spilled into the yard, boots thundering through the dust. Some shouted orders. Others rushed to the general. But their eyes kept darting to the young woman who stood so still, so pale, the sunlight turning her into a stark silhouette against the field. Whispers spread fast. What unit is she from? Did she just? No one moves that fast. Liora felt the weight of every stare. She wanted to explain, to apologize, to shrink into the earth. But years of training had taught her another truth. Sometimes silence is the only way to survive the moment. As medics lifted the general away, Colonel Reeves approached her. His boots stopped just inches from hers. But unlike Hale, he didn't radiate rage. He radiated recognition. You didn't report your prior training, he murmured, voice low enough that only she could hear. But I know that technique, and only one program teaches it. Her breath caught. She wished he was wrong. She wanted to leave that part of her life buried. But he wasn't. You're not a regular recruit, Reeves continued softly. You're from the Shadow Responder Initiative, aren't you? The unit that never asks for credit. The one that vanished after the border rescues. Her silence was answer enough. Reeves looked out at the soldiers, all staring, all waiting for someone to decide what story they'd go home with. Then he did something unexpected. He stepped beside Liora instead of against her. General Hale acted out of anger. He announced loudly, and Private Beckett reacted out of instinct. The instinct of someone trained to save lives, not take them. Today was a mistake, but not hers. A shift rippled through the crowd, confusion, then respect, then something almost protective, and for the first time since the incident, Liora's shoulders eased, disciplinary actions were dropped. Training resumed days later, and General Hale, humbled and healing, sent her a handwritten note apologizing, a gesture she never expected, because sometimes justice doesn't shout, sometimes it steps forward quietly, choosing fairness over fury, because courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it simply stands its ground in the bright light of day, and in that sunlight, truths hidden in silence finally come alive. If this story moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment, share your perspective, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories told with heart and humanity.